Hey everyone, I'm Seminary Kobe, and I just wanted to build on a theme that I mentioned in my last video. How we're taught to think in the Western world, especially when it comes to theology. And our American education actually trains for this type of thinking. See, from a young age, we're rewarded for picking the right answers on tests, not exploring complexity. You see, as I advanced in my own academic journey, I began to realize that the way we're trained to think early on, especially in biblical interpretation, isn't where we're meant to stay. There really are levels to this. Let's start with the broader culture we're all shaped by. See, Western culture prioritizes resolution. We like binaries, right versus wrong, saved versus unsaved. Contradictions feel like problems to be solved, not mysteries to be explored. The literal grammatical historical method fits this mindset perfectly. According to biblical scholar Judith Odor, LGH aims to uncover the one true meaning based on original grammar and historical context. It's a method rooted in Enlightenment ideals, clarity, control, and objectivity. But what if the biblical text resists the clarity? Books like Job, Ecclesiastes, or even Jesus' parables often invite tension. They don't want to be solved. They want to be wrestled with. Next, we have the influence of American Protestantism, which emphasizes sola scriptura, or scripture alone, as the foundation of truth. LGH assumes that if we just study hard enough, we can unlock that truth without tradition or community interpretation. But when different scholars come to different conclusions, that's when the model starts to crack, and the anxiety starts to set in. If truth isn't clear and singular, do we even have truth at all? I'm sure you've heard something like that. And that's the trap. That is the trap. We confuse certainty with truth. But real theological maturity means learning to sit with ambiguity. And this change isn't just theological, it's also educational. Take Bloom's taxonomy, for example. It's a well-known model for understanding how learning progresses. And at the undergrad level, you learn to remember facts, understand them, and apply them. An example is recalling Bible facts and using the literal grammatical historical method. Then at the master's level, you begin to analyze this data, compare interpretations, and trace the logic. But at the doctoral level, you begin to construct new arguments and critique frameworks. You begin to evaluate and create. When I took the GRE to get into my own PhD program, I saw this progression laid out clearly. The math portion tested your recollection, the verbal reasoning tested your analysis, and the analytical writing asked me to evaluate and create arguments and reasons for it. And that's when it hit me. Education itself evolves. You begin by memorizing answers, but at the doctoral level, you're expected to wrestle with complexity and even generate new insight. And what's interesting about this is I had actually shifted to this mindset well before I started working on my master's, but I was always afraid to sort of express it because I would get critiqued constantly for never having a resolute answer or a definitive yes or no to a question. I always recognized that there was nuance and various interpretations of any given pericope or verse. So I learned to sit and wrestle with oftentimes contradictory analysis or interpretations, and I liked sitting in that tension. It turns out that the thing that I used to get critiqued for was actually what validated and verified my readiness for doctoral work, which I think is ironic. But let's get back to LGH for a minute. See, the literal grammatical historical is like having training wheels. It's incredibly helpful at the beginning. It gives you structure, it protects you from speculative or irresponsible interpretations, and it teaches reverence for the original languages and historical settings. But as Dr. Odor points out, it also has limitations. It assumes fixed authorial intent, which we cannot know. It avoids theological development over time, which it does, and it can't fully explain layered, edited, or liturgically shaped texts. See, advanced studies requires more. It requires narrative criticism, reception history, sociocultural tools, and canonical theology. We move from what did the author mean to how has this been understood and what does this do for us now? If you keep the training wheels on too long, they stop helping and they start holding you back. And this is where Western and Eastern logic really part ways. Western logic, that Aristotelian binary deductive reasoning, loves clean answers. But Jewish thought, from which the Bible comes, embraces tension. Let's look back at that Proverbs 26 that I mentioned. It states, do not answer a fool according to his folly. And then the very next verse states, answer a fool according to his folly. Well, which is it? Both. Wisdom is knowing when. In Eastern thinking, contradiction isn't always a flaw. It's often a feature. And that's what advanced biblical study begins to recognize. So here's the takeaway. If you only ever use the LGH method, you'll read the Bible like a worksheet. Efficient, structured, and flat. But Scripture isn't a standardized test. It's sacred literature. It's poetry, it's law, it's prophecy, it's apocalyptic vision, and it's layered theology. It's meant to shape you, not just inform you. So in the undergrad, we're taught to find the answer. In seminary, we're taught to defend the answer. But in doctoral studies and in spiritual maturity, we're invited to live with the question. So yes, there are levels to this. And the higher you go, the less afraid you are of tension, of mystery, and of saying, hey, maybe there's more going on here than I originally thought. So thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, go ahead and like, comment, and share this with someone wrestling with their own faith or going through their own academic journey. And until next time, shalom.